here's the interesting thing. When you have a prosperity consciousness, that means you unify with God. You understand the flow is always flowing through you, and that there's an abundance all the time. Say the money doesn't come from your job. Maybe you were even fired. Now, first you're going to say, thank you, God, for firing me, because that was a dead-end job. And I know you have something better for me. So first of all, you've got to keep your attitude in the right place, and don't close those doors, and don't cause poverty for yourself.
So when something challenging like that happens that threatens our security, rather than see it as a curse, look for the blessing in it and say, okay, something good must come from this.
Now people will say, oh, well, that's a Pollyanna approach.
It's a matter of perspective.
It's completely. If you have a world perspective, you're always in fear.
Not enough.
Not enough. People who do not have these principles that we are teaching, Dennis, their future is grim. Because they're moving more and more into fear. Plus, there's a thing, I call it soul power, which is our own experience of this divine flow of energy. If you use your energy to focus on what you fear, you're actually creating that in your life, and you're creating it in the world, because mind is creative. Thoughts are creative, whether they're positive or negative.
And so we add something. We're always contributing something to the collective consciousness,
to the collective,
if you will, and it's either a sense of enough or not enough.
Right.
And I think that we live in a shame-based culture, which basically teaches that you're not enough. It doesn't matter what you do, you're not. And if you're not enough, there will never be enough of whatever. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to ask our viewers to really begin to think where in their lives there's that sense of not enough.
Because they have a rich mother and father. Everybody should understand that.
Well, that's a good place to leave it. you tease. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Each one of us is much bigger than the life we're living. We didn't begin with this human birth. We don't end with this human death. We are living souls having a human experience.
You're opening up all kinds of doors for conversation.
Okay.
You say that we didn't begin and end here. Explain that.
Well, we're living souls. We're not. I'm sharing with you what I absolutely believe, that we're more than our personality. We're more than our intellect. We have a human experience. And so we live only in a portion of ourselves as we discover who we really are. So most of us are living very muted versions of ourselves. Abraham Maslow, when he studied peak performers, or what he called highly potentiated people, a person who lives in the highest possible potentiality of themselves, and that keeps evolving. And his research, and I particularly became interested in him when I was getting my graduate degree in counseling psychology, because I wanted. He studied what was right with people rather than just the pathology. And what he discovered after researching thousands of people with the question, are these people who live at ever-increasing possibilities for themselves and their families and their world, are they ordinary people with something added? And what he found after research was, no, these are not ordinary people with something added. These are ordinary people with nothing taken away. They're not living in muted versions of themselves. They're not just playing in the shallows of their own possibilities. And they pay attention to their own aliveness. They pay attention to their dreams. And so in the discovery of that and the research into that and then the experience of that myself, I took it down into really 10 simple steps for how to stay in the ever increasing aliveness if we pay attention to what's going on in our own minds and hearts.
So, Building Your Field of Dreams, is that a title inspired by the movie, by any chance?
It was partly inspired by the movie, because here was a man who had an idea that was coming to him that was beyond rational thinking.
Yes.
And, but it wouldn't leave him alone. Like this still small voice, this voice came to him saying, build it and they will come.
Okay, so is it possible that we could say that there is a life, for everybody watching this program, there is a life beyond what they rationally think it should be, waiting for them to come true to it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.